Hey friends, what's up? Phillip here with Points of Phillip, and I'm excited because it is American Express Platinum Week, and obviously I'm sure you probably are tired of the platinum content, and so I decided I want to go a different way, and I want to talk about kind of the multipliers I would really super duper love to see on the American Express Platinum card. And so I realized the shelf life on this video is not going to be that long because, well, it's only until Thursday, September 18th is when everyone knows what it's actually going to look like. But I figured this would be a fun little thought experiment at the very least and talk about what I would like to see and kind of back it up with a little bit of actual numbers based on the industry. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to ask you guys to like and subscribe. Doing that helps me and YouTube know that what I'm doing is helpful for people like you. And of course, by doing that, that helps more and more people to view the content. So I really appreciate you helping me out with that algorithm. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the American Express Platinum card and what I think is going to happen. So first of all, everyone knows what's going to happen. Everyone knows it's going to be $895, for the year. Everyone knows it's going to have $600 in hotel credits. Everyone knows that it's going to change the airline credit to be something horrible and terrible and evil. And basically everyone knows what's going to happen. But we'll see if what everyone knows is correct. And, if you're in the future watching this, you probably already know more than me about the Platinum card. So tell me in the description below or the comments below whether or not you like it, or just say, nah, I know more than you. That's fine. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to get into the American Express Platinum Card multipliers. So what currently, right now, it's 5x, so 5 points per dollar on hotels booked in a prepaid rate through the travel portal. And it's 5 points per dollar on airline purchases. And that can be either through the portal or it can be paid directly with the airline. And so that's kind of the superpower of this card. If you're someone who flies, or even if you're someone who flies for business, but they make you pay for it in advance, then this is definitely kind of a superpowered card, because 5 American Express points per dollar on top of any loyalty points you actually earn with that airline make this kind of an insane card to deal with. Now, as far as multipliers go, that's kind of the only story. Everything else gets 1 point per dollar. And for $695, it's fine, There's a lot of people that use it crazily. I actually talked to a couple people recently that use it as their only card, and I kind of understand it. Like, it's pretty, it's the card that everyone thinks they should have, but you can earn a little bit better if you have something else. Say the American Express Gold card or the Blue Business Plus or even the Business Platinum card can give you 1.5x on certain purchases. But the American Express Platinum card, with this refresh, can really do something kind of insane and really helpful. What you can do with it, American Express, if you're listening, and you probably aren't, let's face it, I'm not that big of a channel, you could really make something magical here. And so one of the things that I've noticed, I was looking at some of the competitors of the American Express Platinum card, and I was seeing that, well, there's a couple of trends. And so let's take a look at the multipliers, the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, it's important to note that this was re-updated this summer, and so this is kind of new, and we can expect it to keep this multipliers for at least a couple of years, probably 3, 4, maybe 5, and we'll see what happens. Now, the multipliers here for this $795 card is going to be 8 points per dollar on all purchases through Chase Travel, including the edit. So if you are booking flights or hotels or kind of anything that can be booked through the Chase Travel portal, you're getting 8 points per dollar. And that's Chase Ultimate Reward points per dollar. And that's, well, stupid high. And, honestly, the Chase portal is less offensive to me than some of the other ones. Like, I'm not using the Robinhood travel portal, no matter how many times they try to send me an email to make that happen. It's not happening. Quit trying to make fetch happen, right? Now, the Sapphire Reserve also gets 4 points per dollar on flights booked directly, so it's a little bit weaker than the 5X with the Platinum card, but you get 4 points per dollar also on hotels booked directly. And so this is a pretty strong card, because if you're using the Chase Sapphire Reserve to book your Hyatt hotel stays, you might be actually earning pretty well. Now, you also get 3 points per dollar on dining. And so this is kind of a storied weak point of the American Express Platinum card, because it seems like they really want you to have the gold card. If you're going to eat, you probably should put that on the gold card, because it gets 4 points per dollar on dining and groceries. And so that's kind of a big deal if you're someone who eats. And, well, let's face it, I'm someone who eats probably more than their fair share. Now, of course, you only get 1 point per dollar on everything else with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So there are definitely some areas where Chase is absolutely thrashing American Express when it comes to multipliers. And there are some places, one to be particular, is where American Express wins out. If you're paying airfare directly, the American Express Platinum currently beats this out Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, let's compare it to the Citi Strata Elite card. Now, the Citi Strata Elite card was recently announced, I think last month, and this one is a little bit cheaper. It's $595, which is, you know, actually not that bad, honestly. But the multipliers here are 12 points per dollar. Now, these are Citi Thank You points, which can convert 1-to-1 to American, and along with a bunch of other transfer partners that are very actually similar to the ones in American Express. For example, you can also transfer to Virgin or Air France, and the whole 9 yards. Right? There's a lot of overlap here. So 12 points per dollar if you spent on hotels, car rentals, and attractions booked on citytravel.com. So you can earn 12 points per dollar on theme park tickets, on rental cars, and hotels, as long as you have to use citytravel.com. Now, citytravel.com feels a little bit more questionable to me, just because City's not particularly well known for having customer service that, well, does anything. And so that could be a problem. If you have, so let's say you get to the hotel and you have like where they don't have a record of you doing something, you might have a little bit harder time getting that situation figured out than if you went with a Chase portal. And so that's certainly worth considering, but 12x is certainly much higher than 5x. And that's what we're seeing on the American Express Platinum card for pretty much the same product, right? Hotels booked through the portal. All right, you get 6 points per dollar on air travel booked on citytravel.com. And so airfare 6x, which is higher than 5x. And then 6 points per dollar on dining, but it's only on city nights, which are on the weekends, and generally, like, most people eat out if they're going to eat out, they're going to eat out then. So it may be a functionally 6x on dining card, but then you also get 3x on all other dining purchases any other time of the week, right? But here's the kicker, and perhaps the most interesting part: it gets 1.5x on all other purchases, which means if you're someone who's doing a reasonable amount of spend, particularly on dining and everything else, it might be actually worth it to keep this card in your wallet, particularly if you take a look at the fact that you get access to the Admirals Club if you're American Airlines, and a bunch of other kind of benefits as well. Like the splurge credit's actually pretty strong. And so, yeah, it's a decent card with great multipliers, but they have, again, so Chase has something that's dining, Citi has a dining multiplier, and Citi has a catch-all multiplier on their premium travel card. So we're going to compare it to kind of the final one that I'm comparing it to tonight, and that's going to be the Venture X. So the Venture X card is perhaps the cheapest card on this list, at $395 for the year. Now, of course, if you want to add lounge access to your annual or your authorized users, that will increase next year to $125 per authorized user per year. However, if you just want to give them the card itself without the lounge access, then it won't cost anything. So you have to do that math yourself. If you're planning on using Capital One lounges more than, say, twice in a year, it might make sense to do so, because the guest fee for this, if you come in and bring them as a guest and pay, it's $45. And so just do that math in your head. Now, the multipliers here on this card: 10x on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One Travel. So 10x, now these are venture miles, which again can convert to Air France, Virgin Atlantic, Air Canada. There's a long list, right? It's a solid program. Now, it also makes 5 points per dollar on flights and on vacation rentals booked through Capital One Travel. And so for flights, 5x. Check. That's a huge box, right? So that matches the Business Platinum card that it requires you to order through the portal, and that actually matches the American Express Platinum card if you're using through the portal, because that also earns 5x on the portal. So not bad for a much significantly cheaper card. Now you get 2x on everything else, and so this is kind of the kicker. It is the catch-all card to end all catch-all cards, because 2x per dollar on every single thing, no limits, no expectations, nothing, right? You just get the money and run. This is a solid card, and so this card gets higher multipliers on the portals, but this one also gets a catch-all category. So what are the things that we've seen across each of these three cards? That's higher multipliers when going through the portal, decent multipliers when purchasing directly, at least for Capital, for Chase and Citi, and then catch-all categories as well for, at least the Citi Strata Elite and the Venture X, and then of course dining. So with that in mind, the American Express Platinum card, with the refresh coming up soon, it would be really, really, really amazing if we saw them play around with the multipliers. Now, the current rumor is that they're not going to, but if they did, holy smokes, would they completely blow everything out of the water, right? So let's say even if we kept the 5X at, flights booked directly, having maybe even a 6 or 7X multiplier with hotel stays booked through the portal. I would definitely do that more. I would use the Fine Hotels Resorts collection. I would use the hotel collection so much more if I had access to a slightly higher multiplier. And I feel like if American Express, and it seems like they want to train us to use more and more of their programs, this is what you do if you want more people to use your program, right? Training people to use your program is definitely worth 2 more points per dollar when it comes to making that thing work. Because honestly, the American Express travel portal, it's not perfect by any means. There's still plenty of data points on Reddit that show that people can be upset with them. But it's also true that they're probably one of the better ones. And so, they have a special line, a special phone number just for calling about American Express travel-related issues. And every time I've called, they've been relatively well read about how to actually solve problems. And so that would be really solid if they have like a 5 or a 6 or a 7X multiplier for those kind of purchases. So another thing, and I'm definitely probably not going to say that I think they're going to do dining because, well, they're not, right? They want you to have the gold card and the platinum card together, or, in keeping. They'd really like you to have just the platinum card if they had their, rathers, right? So I don't think that there's going to be a food multiplier. That'd be nice. That would be perfect, but probably not. The other multiplier I would really love to see is the 1.5x at least. I don't think there will be a 2x, and the reason why is because if you take a look at the Blue Business Plus card, that one gets you, first of all, it has no annual fee. It gets you 2x back, up to $50,000 in spend, but it gives you 1.5x on literally everything else. And so this is kind of crazy because, it's very clear American Express is kind of giving that thing, like, we don't care how much you spend with us. We can make money on 1.5x. And so if they up that multiplier just to 1.5x, I would use this card a lot more, right? Because although you're giving up the 2x with, say, the Venture X or the Venture or even the Blue Business Plus, there's so much better travel protections or even like shopping protections, right? Like this card could become my Apple card, right? It could become my Costco. Well, no, I can't use it at Costco. It can become kind of my I'm shopping for a phone card or something like that because, there's so many different kinds of return protections and extended warranty protections that are associated with the Platinum card that we don't get on a lot of other credit cards. And so, I would use it. I would use 1.5x over 2x if it meant that it was something big that I was actually getting more protection on. And so what I would like to see is higher multipliers to the portal and then something a little bit higher than 1x. So maybe 1.5x. It'd be great if there were 2, but realistically, I don't think that's kind of a goal that, could happen. So anyway, thanks so much for listening to me on this little thought experiment. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. If you haven't done so already, like and subscribe, please go ahead and do so. And then also, there's a link in the description below for my website where you can actually sign up for a newsletter that gives you information every Friday morning, up to the minute information about what's going on in the world of credit cards and points and miles. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you all, and I can't wait to see you guys until next time.